everyone. Hello, 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 hello.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing?
Good evening.
Good. All right. Welcome once again. Glad to have everybody coming on with us one more time for conversations here, coming from Rochester, New York, from our home studio.
Our home office studio.
Our home office / studio / a few other things.
Yes, this is where everything happens.
This is the hub.
The office. The place of business.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let us know you're there. If you're online, wave at us, say hello, type something in, send us a heart, a thumbs up, whatever. We want to know that you're there. And feel free to invite someone else to come and join right now as well. Yeah, there we go. See some thumbs coming up. Hello,
okay.
Hello. Yeah, so glad to have you connecting up with us. You can invite somebody. It's a great time to start a watch party if you want. Share, send. Let's get some people involved because probably got a couple things we want to talk about tonight.
I'm sure.
I'm thinking there may be a few things out there that people have on their mind as it has been a week, probably safe to say like no other. I can't.
Well, you know what? This is a time like no other.
Yeah, it's
no other time that I've ever experienced, right. And I think many other people.
And it's been going on now for
on and on.
Think about it, it's been almost a year. I mean, the beginning of 2020 started. Oh gosh, just remember it started with impeachment. Right?
Yes.
2020 started with impeachment. Mm-hmm. 2021, guess what? It's starting with impeachment.
It started with impeachment again.
Here we go again.
Here we go.
It seems pretty amazing, but we have come full circle and we're back to talking about impeachment again of not a different president.
The same.
The same
person.
President.
I have refused to call him
right. What do you call him now? I forget.
The opponent.
Yeah,
the opposition.
There you go. Okay. Well, it has been quite a journey, and the past week in general and specific has been quite a journey, quite an emotional journey as well.
Yes.
With all the different things that are going on. First of all, before we get to that, I should probably say the Buffalo Bills won. Buffalo Bills won today, so a few people are a little excited about that in this area. And elsewhere, I've seen people, got some family out in Colorado that have been jumping and acting like crazy people, and a few other former Buffalonians we know around the different areas are excited. But yeah, Buffalo Bills won. Yes. So life is grand, I guess, something like that, or different, I should say, because the Bills haven't won a Super Bowl, a playoff game. I think it was, oh gosh, what was it now? 25 or 45 years, something crazy like that.
Wow.
I think it's 25 years, something like that. So it's been pretty crazy just to see them win a game. And I'm sure the fans that were there were excited as well. So go Buffalo. Others are playing too. Yeah, we'll get to that later. But it has been a dynamic week. I'm trying to find the right adjectives. I've been trying to find the right adjectives all week of what to say this week was like.
Yeah, there's so many adjectives that we could use.
It's been horrific. It's been scary.
It's been traumatic.
It's
been depressing.
Yeah. Get you angry.
Yes. You run a gamut of emotions. Right? Sometimes it's so ridiculous that you want to laugh. But I think we're laughing to keep from crying or crying to keep from laughing. I don't know. But it's a gamut of emotions that we are experiencing.
Absolutely.
Under this presidency. We're just we are amazed.
Yep. And I
stunned.
Right. I try and figure out.
Shocked.
Did that on purpose. Do you laugh? Do you cry? What do you do right now? I mean, there's this.
You're enraged.
I hate to say it. Yeah, there's this sense of, I told you so.
Yes.
And I don't like to go there, but it just feels like a confirmation of things that we already knew.
Yes, exactly.
That's going on. It really is enraging because of the fact, trying to get something to show here. Because of that fact, it just feels like, okay, everything that we already knew now is being proven out. And so now
it's played out. Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And we're dealing with it now because it wasn't dealt with in the first place. And it's kind of like it should have never happened to us anyway. For all the wrong reasons, I believe, Donald Trump was president. For all the wrong reasons, people that have been supporting and doing different things because of their agendas, because of what they wanted. and they thought perhaps this was the man to force his way into doing certain things that people wanted to see happen. But really, it was never about him. You know, the whole debate during the first election, what had to deal with, you know, are we going to have him run the government or Clinton, Hillary Clinton? And nobody trusted either one of them. It was never about the person. It was always about what people thought they were going to gain out of it. So everybody was in this. Everybody's been in it for the wrong reason, right? All the supporters, all the politicians that stood behind them, all the religious leaders that have stood behind him, you know, across the board, and not necessarily just those that were for him, as even those that are against. It seems like everybody's just been in this for the whole wrong reason. So we got into all this, and here we are.
Yes.
So it's a very frustrating time. We'll talk about the details, but we do want to give you the opportunity to call us. You can call us at 951-799-9032. This is a great day, great night to get involved in the conversation. So we invite you to give us a call right now. Join in. We want to hear what you think, what you feel. I'm just, you know, at a point where I'm just really ready to just speak on my mind at this point, and I'm still trying to hold back, you know. But you can call us tonight at any time. We're looking for those who want to talk and tell us what's on your mind.
Exactly what's on your mind. Say
things.
Just what you feel and what you think. We need to talk about these things and get it out. I mean, a lot of my friends and my family are very vocal on this topic.
However, we don't have a bleep button, okay?
Yeah. We don't have a bleep.
So when you call,
we do have a mute.
but we can't do it fast enough. So we don't have a 5-second delay or anything like that. We don't have that.
But we want to hear. We want to talk.
So take it easy. Take it easy. That's all I'm gonna say. Hello to Wanda is on. You can comment as well. Hello,
yes,
Wanda.
You can type something in.
But we really are looking for people to call and just have a discussion with us.
Yes.
You don't have to be a professional talker.
Nope.
All you have to do is
express yourself. Exactly.
Right? And
there's no right or wrong. We're discussing. We're having a conversation.
A lot of people.
That's what conversations are.
Exactly.
Two-way exchange. Verbal exchange.
So let me get warmed up here with a little water. We can get this underway.
Okay.
So this week, we had said last week that we were going to be concluding the election process this week, and we did all the talk about, you know, all the different things that you know, were going to transpire, and we expected something might happen, you know, out of the unusual. But what was supposed to happen this week, was it Wednesday? Was supposed to be a pretty standardized process, because in essence the work had been done, but there were people who were talking about somehow rejecting, contesting. LaQuisha's on too. Hey, LaQuisha. She says she's here for a minute. Well, okay, get your minute and a half in.
Okay. We'll take it.
But we were, you know, was supposed to go down. There were people who were suggesting, actually very loudly by this time last week, that they were going to contest the election when the electoral results were given to Congress. So we did expect that. At that time, they were saying up to 140 to 150 congressmen had risen up that were saying they were going to contest certain aspects of it. And there were probably 13 senators. So people were lining up saying, okay, we're going to do this. And even with that, the people that were going to do that knew it wasn't actually going to do anything. It was going to be, in essence, ceremonial, because they knew it was going to come to a vote. And once the vote was over, they knew the majority was going to cause it to pass, which, by the way, is why some of the people were so upset. The legal folks, the legislators were so upset when they went back that night to have to go through that till like almost 4 a.m, because everybody knew it was just a formality. It was a statement that was being made. It wasn't going to change anything. And then the pressure was on to Donald Trump, from Donald Trump to Mike Pence. And after all the legal things that they tried to do, all the legislation, all the resistance, and by the way, stories are still coming out of some of the stuff that was done to try and block this whole thing. The Georgia elections, we may talk about that. Stuff is still coming out about some of the craziness that was going on. And by the way, that started coming out too at the beginning of the week. We heard about the talks that of the phone calls, the tapes of the phone calls, President Trump to Georgia. We'll come back. Let's finish this up.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things are happening. People are getting ready. The last deal here is, if the legislators can't override it, then Mike Pence has got to come in, and Mike Pence has got to somehow throw this out, which he had no legal standing to do. And Trump had put the pressure on, saying, my friend Mike Pence, our great vice president, and if he doesn't do this, I won't be so happy with him.
Another threat.
But pushing on him behind the scenes.
Subtle threats.
Pence finally stood up for the first time in 5 years. Pence probably called out his boss as being wrong. For 5 years, he has echoed whatever Donald Trump has said. Whatever he has said, he's just echoed it and changed it in different words and made it sound better.
Mm-hmm.
He took from Trump's craziness, whatever direction, which is what the whole White House has had to do. The press group feels so bad for those guys. He says something crazy, they have to come back and re-explain everything that he says. For
Damage
years,
control.
Right?
Yes.
Pence has done this, I tell you, to a fault, for 5 years now, since they were running together, and done it as best as anybody could. I'll give him the credit for that. As best as anybody can make Trump stuff sound legitimate, he has done his job, right? Now down to the wire, the end of the presidency, and Trump is pushing him to do something he knows legally, morally, all kind of ways wrong. And he finally has to say, nope, can't do it, not gonna do it. I have to hold to my oath and commitment to the people. And Trump goes insane. And so he ends up with this last surge on Wednesday morning, having told all these people to come. He told them since December, for over a month, he'd been telling people, come down here on election day, come to Washington, something great's gonna happen, blah, 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 right? Brings hundreds or thousands or whatever it is of people to Washington. And before the process starts up on the Hill, he starts having all these speeches. And these speeches are, in essence, telling people, we're going to go up there, we're going to march, we have to take back our country.
Take back.
And if need be, we're going to take it back by force. The thing I love is his statement on tape. We're going to go up there and I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you.
Come on, guys.
We're going up there and we're going to, whatever we're going to do, right?
Yeah, I'll be right there.
And when everybody starts going up, he's nowhere to be found. Where's Donald? He's back in the office, watching on television.
Yeah, really, fire starter.
He sends all these people up here.
Yes.
Doesn't say what to do, but says, hey, we got to be bold. We got to take it by force. Boom, boom. In other words, he sent these people, and the president of the United States, in essence, attacked and provoked against his own government.
Yes.
His own government.
Right.
Right. He basically initiated a revolt against the government of the United States.
A full revolt.
Because now get this, there's intentionally three different branches: executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. He's the executive branch. He couldn't get what he wanted from the judicial branch.
Right.
He couldn't get what he wanted from the legislative branch.
Right.
So in essence, he revolts against those two.
Yeah.
He said, and he campaigns his people together, his forces together, and sends them against the other two branches of the United States. This is the most insane, crazy thing that we've ever seen in this country since like 1776, the revolt against the British or something like that. So it's an amazing.
But that was against the British,
right? And we want to get into all the reasons for that. But it's the most amazing thing we've ever seen as a country, internally. Even for the Civil War, the Confederates decided we're leaving. Okay, so we're not attacking you. We're walking our own way, and the Union said, no, you can't go. So we're going to come down and get you under control.
Right
here, they attack. I mean, he has them attack, in essence, the government, the centerpiece of the government. It's just the craziest thing that I've ever seen. And so, in the midst of all this stuff, right, you have all these people that are inside of the Capitol that are now under siege, right?
Yes.
And these legislators, which this is not what they do. They're not there to fight. Some of them are ex-vets, but they're there to make laws and follow parliamentary law. And in the middle of this, all of a sudden, all these people come charging in from everywhere.
Yes.
And they're attacking them, and they want to, seize control. And so now all of a sudden they've got to deal with this bombardment of people. And so you guys know a lot of the rest of the story from there. So again, want to hear what you have to say about this. Give us a call real quick. If it's even quick, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a call. You know, you guys know Talk Radio. Call us up. Area code 951-799-9032. It's no charge to you, but we'd love to get your feedback and your thoughts to connect up with ours. So what do you think, man? What do you think about all this?
It's absurd. It is
more adjectives.
It is more adjectives. It is the most bizarre thing that I have ever seen or could. Well, you know, it's like we saw and we knew what Trump was capable of.
Well, we didn't really know.
But for no one to be able to stop him before now is absolutely ludicrous to me.
Well, I think you have a certain amount of benefit and favor because you're the president of the United States.
This is true. Yeah.
You know, this government is set up and situated, so it's not easy, or just because you don't like someone to put them out of power, because it's the people of the United States ultimately that put him in power. And so it's really intended that the people put him in, the people put him out based on their vote.
And it seems like it has been very difficult. I mean, he was impeached once already, you know, but he still was an acting president. He's
gone through all kind of stuff. All kind of people have been frustrated, upset. He's made all kind of people angry. You know, some people are fine with that though. Some people like that. They're happy that he's done all that stuff. So, you know, it's tough because again, it's what is the overall will of the people? And right now the will of the people is split. Yes. Almost nearly 50-50.
Right. He has a lot of followers. A lot.
For a lot of reasons.
Yes.
Now, there's a lot of people that would never have followed him if they realized what was about to happen, what was going on in this particular case. The problem is there are a lot of people who would follow him because of what was going to happen.
Exactly.
Because they would
want the issue.
Exactly that.
Right.
Right. And trust me, they were not all in Washington, happened to all be in Washington at the time. But there are lots and lots of people who would be ready to step up and do that. And here's my concern is that, you know, this reminds me, I've described it this way a few times this week, of a Hitler mentality.
Exactly.
Because it's a mindset of people that will follow a certain leader, regardless of what he says or regardless of what he does.
Right.
And so that's not over.
Oh, no, it's not.
You know,
it is not.
Because they're still wound up. He's still wound up. You know, he came afterwards and was forced by his legal department to come in and say, okay, you got to make this tape and you got to denounce all this. You got to tell these people to go home. He was forced to do that.
Yes.
And you knew he was forced to do that. You've seen him do stuff like this before where they say, you got to go out and do this. So he reads a script and you watch him read the script. Okay. We're not going to, you need to stop. You need to go home. This is over. We love you, whatever, you know, but he can't help himself. Within 24 hours, it's kind of like he's been holding it in and now he's got to say what he wants to say.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's coming, right? When he said all that stuff on Wednesday, you knew it was coming and he was just going to round up again and do something. So they kicked him off Twitter.
Kicked him off.
They held him off for 24
no more tweeting.
Hours of all the social media in essence.
No more Facebook.
You know, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all three locked them up for 12 to 24 hours. 12 to 24 hours later.
It was 24,
right.
But it's not 24 now.
12 to 24 hours later, he comes back and he just rips it off.
So again. Now we're like, we're done with you.
Done. No,
done.
Because
done. Zip it.
Right. Because everybody on his side right now is not just concerned about what he did. They're concerned about what he could still do.
Right.
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 And there's a lot of fear because of this, you know, he can't just keep control. He still is just adamant, this is stolen from me and I got to do something about it. And I need to take this back. And even though he said it's over, peaceful transition of power, you know, then he turns around again, 24 hours later, says, I ain't coming to the, I'm not coming. And then Biden says, good. We agree on that.
Yes.
We don't want you there.
We don't want you there. No love lost.
So, you know, this whole attitude and atmosphere that he has set, it's still powder kegged inside of him.
It is. And, even when Biden is actually sworn in, the inauguration and everything, we will still hear from Trump. That is his plan. He's not done.
Yep. He's not
done.
And
he has these followers.
Right.
And this is what he's doing. This is why he has gathered such a following.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
Especially now while he's still president, the power and potential of what he can do. I mean, he can't really do anything to change the election at this point, but what he can do in terms of, this is a vengeful man. He takes out vengeance against people who stand against him. So the things he can do, the people he can fire, the disruption that he can cause in the next week and a half is the grave concern of a lot of people. We don't know what he's going to do.
No, we don't.
And we don't know really the extent of what he's capable of doing, because nobody would have ever imagined that he would do what happened this week. So now everybody is on the fringes of saying, okay, we can't have this man with his power, hands on the nuclear weapons.
Right.
And,
well, you know what? Hillary Clinton said that from the very beginning.
Right.
She said that he was a very dangerous man.
Well, a lot of people said that.
Yes.
And now, for example, Nancy Pelosi, they're saying that she actually called some of the generals at the Pentagon to talk to them about him having that kind of power and making sure that he's not going to do something crazy. He could decide, on his way out that he wants to, do something against Iraq.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're going to hit the button, man, because, they have something coming. He's mad. He wants to take out his anger on somebody else. There's all kinds of things he has the potential to do. And right now, everybody's like, we don't know what he will and will not do.
Exactly.
At this point, we don't know who he's going to try and take vengeance on. We know he's probably going to try and pardon a bunch of people, including himself, it sounds like, at this point.
And yes, and his family.
And just as an example to this, I'll go back to the Georgia case. I said a lot of things are coming out, so everybody heard the tapes of him trying to convince them to find him 11,780 or whatever it was votes by some means to turn this over. That still, by the way, wouldn't have ended, wouldn't have turned over the election, because he would need more than Georgia. He'd need like 3 states to turn over for him to win. So it wouldn't have changed anything either way. But what people don't know is that I believe it's the Georgia Attorney General, one of the attorney generals in Georgia, resigned on Monday. And the story is just now coming out now that he resigned because he was an appointee of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump called him on Monday and told him he needed to resign because of the fact that he was saying that he had not done enough to try and do prosecution and investigation surrounding the elections. So he forced this man to resign. Why he resigned, I don't know. Why didn't he just say, forget about you? Why should I resign? You're going out of office. But this man resigned from Georgia because he was pushed by the president. We don't know who he's making calls to.
No, we don't know.
We don't know what national leaders he's calling.
Right.
We don't know what kind of people he's calling inside of the country. We don't know what this man is subject to do, because obviously he'll do anything within his power to do to get his will. And so, what is going to happen over the next, however many 10 days or so is not clear at all, and it's not given. And so there are people that are very antsy, again, not just because of what he did, but because of what he could potentially do. And then you've got all his supporters and what they may do. Right. There are all kinds of rumors out there right now of people who are talking about more violent attacks. Right. The 17th of January is a day that right now is out there and being circulated as something may happen at the Capitol again as well. They're talking about what might happen on Inauguration Day. And so they're talking about bombs, pipe bombs that were made, people that are making them. And so who knows what his followers are going to do? Because again, of this Hitler mentality, he tells them he's been wrong and everybody else is wrong and they're right. And we need to do whatever is necessary. Those words, whatever is necessary, if they, not saying they do, but if they come out of his mouth.
Those are very powerful.
Man, these people are.
Exactly.
They are unhinged. And they will follow him to not only to a fault, but to death.
Well, what's scary is he believes that the presidency belongs to him. He believes that the White House belongs to him. His followers believe that The presidency belongs to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is what they're fighting for. It does not belong to him. He did not win. He is a businessman. He's got this business mentality, and he's been fired.
Well, along with the business mentality, he has a control.
Control, exactly.
Something Juana's saying right now, he loves control.
He likes control.
He likes having things his way.
Yes.
Doesn't like to lose.
Nope.
And he is obsessed by it.
Yes.
And so he has a tendency, he's used to working everything out so that ultimately works out for him.
And for what I'm understanding, his niece wrote this book, who knows his personality, the family history very, very well. And she has pretty much said that he's mentally unstable and unfit to be president.
And we saw the book and everybody's like, nah, it can't be that bad.
Oh, he's that bad.
Really.
Oh, yeah.
Nah, she's exaggerating.
No.
People just didn't want to believe it.
Yeah, they didn't.
But we're finding out more and more. The more he doesn't get his way, the more is exposing what's really inside of him.
Yes.
So this is, as we see now, this is the personality of someone who should have never been president of the United States.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying anything, it just is what it is. What he is demonstrating right now implies that this is a person who should have never been in charge of this country. That was a very, very bad decision.
Very bad.
And so it has to be righted. It has to be changed.
But look what we will have to go through in order to set it right.
Right.
If it will ever be right.
Now, just an example, again, of what's going on in terms of the type of people that are involved in this. One of the people, so they're starting now to arrest some of these people. They're going after them. They're planning on arresting hundreds of people.
Yes, they have.
And so they found a lot of these people thus far. They're in some of these pictures. The guy that was in Pelosi's office with his feet kicked up, they found him. And some of these people they've been doctors. They have been professionals. They are people with serious jobs. One guy got fired from his job because he had his job
ID.
What were you? You're supposed to be smart. What were you
thinking?
But one of the people that was in this crowd was actually a congressman. He was a congressman from West Virginia.
Wow.
And
Virginia.
Again, stuff is still coming out. This congressman from West Virginia was one of the people that was cited being in the White House with this crowd, a young man. And he is up on charges and just had to resign from his post as congressman. One of the congressmen, right all the way into the Congress itself. This is the kind of, how deep and how wide this net of people is and how insane the behaviors are. This following mentality, people who should know better are jumping on board of this. And so not only the people that were involved in it, but you can be sure the people that initiated it, their time is coming. And amongst those people, the people that were involved with the speeches that amp people up there, Rudy Giuliani, right? And all these people are on tape. Yeah. Donald Trump Jr., Donald Trump Sr. are the three primary people that we've seen who were speakers at that event. There were others, by the way. But those that were speaking and telling people about how we have to take control and take over. We're going up there and we have to fight and you have to be bold and all this language that they use, this quote unquote subtle language that they use. Be sure that the DAs, especially the DA in DC, is going to be coming for them. And so when Donald Trump is out of office, pardon or no pardon, understand that the pardons are only cover federal charges anyway.
Okay.
So if you could even legitimately be done, can he pardon himself? They'll be arguing that one because he's probably going to do it. I would do it at this point. If I was him, there's no way I would not. Shoot, if I was him, there's no way I would not leave office without doing it. Amen. You got to have that coverage, whatever coverage you can get, because they are coming after him. And you've got the attorney general from the federal attorney general, the new one that comes in, but you're going to have all these states that are going to have all these cases. So these guys are going to be in court for a long time when this comes up. And I believe many of them are going to be found guilty. So this group is in deep trouble as time goes on. So lots of things that are going to be happening here going forward. I want to remind you again, nobody's calling us Nobody's talking to us out there. Give us a call. Area code 951-799-9032. We want to hear from you, hear what you feel about some of these things.
Yes.
So lots of stuff that's going on. So now what are they going to do? People are looking at impeachment, right? Well, they're talking about two things, because the fear of, what he might do.
Yeah.
People want him out of office now rather than later. Right. And so three options that are on the table right now. One of them is the 25th Amendment, which is just to imagine that we're sitting here publicly discussing, not just us, but people that matter.
Right.
His cabinet officials are formally discussing the 25th Amendment on a sitting president. That is just having serious discussion. I mean, they had these behind the curtain discussions early on.
Yes.
In the first set of cabinets, but it was much quieter and everybody was in denial. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Man, nothing happened like that. Here, now they're legitimately, publicly, openly saying these discussions are going on about the 25th Amendment. That in and of itself is just how crazy this time is. So that's option number one. If they won't do that, we'll come back to that. Option number two is if we're not going to do that, then we impeach him again and we put him out of office that way.
And if that happens, he will not be able to run.
It depends. That is actually a second part of it.
Okay.
Right. We'll come back to that. And the third of the three options is he resigns. Right. Probably not going to happen.
Trump.
Probably not ever give up kind of mindset. Probably won't do it unless it was definitely his interest. And at this point, there really is no reason for him to do that. He needs to stay in as long as he can so he can get this pardon done. So the 25th Amendment, just so everybody understands what the options are, the 25th Amendment will require a majority vote by his cabinet. He selects the cabinet. So these are the people that he selected to represent him. If they say, okay, the president's out of his mind, because that's basically what it comes down to at this point. 25th Amendment was for incapacity. Initially was put in at the time JFK was shot because they were afraid of having a president that was in a coma, physically unable.
Right.
And so the 25th Amendment was intended for that. But now it really says incapacity. So it could be mental incapacity as well. And your brother's on, hey, pastor,
hey,
bishop, so it takes a half the cabinet and the vice president to align with it for it to happen. Okay. So the question right now is, where's the cabinet stand? So some of them are just resigning. So they're not being involved. There's a real serious question as to whether the appointees or the acting cabinet members, because there's several now, because he fired a few, right? Or they quit. There's several. So the question is whether they could even count in the vote, right? Acting treasurers versus, or acting cabinet members versus the true established ones. And then the third thing is, you need the vice president to be on board. The likelihood that the vice president will make this much of a turn, he'd have to know that he truly has lost his mind. Right. If Pence were to go along with this, because this man he's faithful to a fault, right? And people like him and Lindsey Graham, even though they've made this kind of step away, they're still trying to protect him. They still feel something for him, for his legacy. So they're still trying to protect him. They feel bad. Lindsey Graham had to separate himself. You could see almost had tears in his eyes when he was up there talking about, okay, I'm done. This got to be over. We got to move on, because he knew he was doing what was best at that point for the country. So even as much as he had fought for President Trump, he was like, okay, it's got to be done. And you could see how hard it was for him to do that. He's been with Trump since then. Right. He's actually been with Trump, I think yesterday, for a day. They're trying to talk him down. Right. Because you can imagine this guy is on the ledge.
Could you imagine what he must be like? I mean, we know what we see on TV and in the media. We see. But could you imagine actually being in his presence right now?
That's what I'm saying.
He has to be so unhinged.
Right. These people right now are like watching behind the scenes, seeing him, what he's truly like right now, where he's functioning and things like that. And if the VP were to agree to the 25th Amendment, it would be because he knows he's unhinged. That's the only reason he'll do it. Is look, he can't do this. We're in danger. The country's in danger.
Yes.
It's the only way he'll do it. So it's not likely to happen, the 25th Amendment. If it did happen, I won't get into all the detail of it. Could take place immediately or take effect immediately. So, but that's one option. The second option, we do have a caller on. We'll get him on in just a minute. The second option is impeachment. And the impeachment issue is very problematic as well. Now, the potential is, remember what happens in impeachment, the House has to write articles, they initiate it, and they actually impeach him. And so if they get, I think theirs is only a majority vote, which is a little easier to do right now. They can do another article of impeachment. They have one up. They're talking about putting it out on Monday, indict him for, instigating this riot. And then it goes to the Senate. The issue is the Senate has to have a 2/3 vote, right? They need a 2/3 vote. Now, the Senate right now is 50-50 between the senators and between the Republicans and the Democrats. They would need like 17 or so Republican senators to sign on to this. Not very likely, right? Not very likely. They'd have to have a 2/3 vote. And if they agree, or if they did agree and got the vote, then they would put him out of office, right? The second part you were asking about is a second question of should he be allowed to take a position in the government again? If it's a yes on the vote and they take him out of office, then they ask the question, and it's by majority decision as to whether he should be allowed to take office again. So it's still a very high hurdle to get over for impeachment, to truly get him out of office based on impeachment. Wow. So understand these processes were made very difficult by the government intentionally. They were made because we weren't supposed to be just throwing people out of just because people don't like them. And so it's a very high hill to get over. So the chances that what will happen will actually take him out of office between now and the end of his term are not very good. So we got a lot of comments coming in. We're excited about that. We got a caller on the line. Let's jump to our caller first and see who's with us. Randy.
Hey, Randolph Jones.
Hey,
my family.
How you doing?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm doing good. Just watching this thing better than better than any TV show ever. One thing that Trump has done, boy, is he's got ratings done.
Look, reality TV.
This is the ultimate reality.
Oh TV. My God.
He did it. He did that.
He always said he was the best. So there you go.
Oh my God.
And it's hard.
I don't know what to say. I've been listening to the show a little bit and welcome you guys. Welcome family. How's everything over there on your
family. Side? Everything's
doing good. Just trying to survive all the stress.
Good, Dave. And I didn't get a chance to, share my condolences about Dad and everything. And so I'd love to do that. And he was a wonderful man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That. Man,
yes.
so
yeah, man. One of the things that people aren't Roger Stone is a major player in this thing.
Yeah.
Roger Stone is I believe he's the brains behind the whole operation. People aren't really talking about it, but if you take a look at if you do any research on some of the things that he said in the past, like this whole martial law thing and all this stuff, this is all stuff that Roger Stone has really come up with, months ago. I believe that he was high on the president's list to get him out of jail. I believe that a lot of these things, the army that he has built with the Proud Boys, these are Roger Stone's connections. The day that he pardoned Roger Stone got out of jail. There was a picture that was in the Washington Post or something like that with the Hawaii head of the Proud Boys, who was on the wanted list. He's the four of the people. They're all showing up. They're all showing the white power sign in this bar the day after. This thing has been planned, this government takeover and all this stuff. And Roger Stone was a big fan of Nixon too. So this whole white power thing and all this stuff, and Roger Stone's a major player, and
yeah, as you were
what
saying,
do you think about that?
as
Pastor?
you were saying, he Trump pardoned him along with a few of his other friends. By the way, I think part of the reason he needed to pardon these, and may have a couple more to go, is because they know his dirt, right? And if he hadn't pardoned them and then went out of office,
they would expose.
The concern was they'd start talking.
Yes.
And so, he has to, and he has more to go. He has to do his friends, those who have done his dirty work, right? He may, they talked about we do a pre-pardon for somebody like Giuliani, like it's another man that knows his dirt, right? And so trying to keep these people from turning on him is one of the big issues that he has challenges about. So the next, we talk about this being reality. And the thing is, the thing that makes it really good reality TV is you never can guess what's coming up next.
Yeah, that's true.
And so like we're sitting here this week, we didn't know what was going to happen from last week. What's going to happen this week is not only the what everybody wants to see, but it's what everybody's afraid of. What do you think? What do you think he's going to do? What do you think his next move is?
Well, there's really not much he can do. Obviously, he's so stupid that he was already in trouble before this.
In trouble, right?
And they probably would have overlooked it. I believe that they might have overlooked everything that he had done, but they cannot overlook. They can't overlook what happened on Wednesday. People died.
Right.
They just can't overlook it. So, it reminds me of the biblical story, Pharaoh, how God can harden somebody's heart.
Yeah.
It just seemed like, he got in, they tried to say, hey man, come on, cut it out, man. Let it go. And God hardened his heart, Now he cannot get out of this one. I mean, he's really cooked himself, so to speak, where he might have been able to at least get away from the federal charges. Now, we can't forget New York wants to crucify him.
Yes. They're coming for him, and they will have no mercy.
That black female district attorney,
yes,
they're going to get paid in New York regardless.
Yes.
But I think that he just really he really did it for his family. And I just don't see them coming out of this one at all. It's treason.
Yes.
I mean, if it was old school, he would be hanging by a rope.
Man.
Yeah, right.
He lost, to your point, he broke a lot of his alliances because of this last scenario. And like you said, people died. A cop died.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people don't know this. One of the people that died was trampled to death. Inside, along with the person that was shot. So this certainly, you could just and all those alliances, the people that he had in Congress, they were all put in danger. So now it's personal for them.
Yeah.
I was listening to somebody, one of the younger Republican congresswomen who was speaking about it earlier, I think yesterday, recorded. But man, you could just tell he's broken now. I mean, people who would have aligned with him and did align with him, those alliances are broken. And so, what he was planning, what it seeming was planned to happen was he was going to come out of this, start his own organization and continue. And he still got, by the way, tons of PAC money. He still has tons of PAC money, but he was going to come out of this and really still control the party all the way up to 2024. But now people are like turning away. And so what he's going to be able to do, and like you said, first of all, I agree with you. New York was coming either way. Yeah. Because New York has been lining up their charges. They're prepared when he comes out of office to hand them the subpoenas. They have been working the cases. But now all these others are mounting up, and you have other state attorney generals with their own now stuff coming up. It's going to be a bloodbath in terms of court cases for him and his family. Man, got anything else for us before you go?
Yeah. And last thing too, as far as just to go back to what you were talking about, as far as him pardoning Giuliani and everything, I think that a good strategy is to, they have so much on Giuliani and all this stuff, and you believe me, and I believe that now, even though he's pardoned Stone, I think that if they do enough research, that now they can go back and get Stone.
Yeah.
There's the guy from Hawaii that was in the Capitol that is connected to Stone. So now the investigators can go back, look at that, ask Stone more questions. As soon as you put Giuliani over the fire, he goes snitch, snitch, snitch. So if they just go hard on Giuliani after Trump gets out of office, so the pre-pardon and all that's not going to work. What are you pre-pardoning them for?
Right.
You can't pre-pardon them for everything. So any sin you might have done in life, he ain't Jesus.
That's when you were a teenager.
So it's like he ain't covered by that type of blood, if you get my meaning, right? So it's like, you just, in 12 days you wait, there's still the left harness stuff, there's still all of these things. Now you go hard on Giuliani. You go hard on some of these other people. They are going to turn over like, the frogs that they are. You know what I mean? It's just, it's incredible that these people could get away with this. And I'll leave you guys with this. Imagine if Barack Obama would have done 1/1 of this stuff. He'd be hanging from a tree on the White House lawn.
Yes.
The mob would have ran up there, dragged him out of the White House. Just like yesterday.
Yes.
The cops would have let him in, let them in, and they would have hung him from a tree.
They would have.
It's crazy.
White privilege is a real thing.
It's a real thing. Yeah, it is a real issue. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, Randy, thanks for calling, man. I appreciate your input.
Hey, you guys got it. Love you.
Love you
take
too.
Care. Yeah, number's still open. If anybody else wants to call us, and you can call in, and we have a hold here, so you can you don't have to wait till one person's done the call. We can line you up. So anyone that wants to call, area code 951-799-9032. Just call. We'll see you in the queue. But a lot of interesting stuff that's said there. One of the things that has been said, and it's harsh, but it's fair, and it's been said by a couple of people, that what would have happened if that was a black crowd on Wednesday that was pushing their way into the Capitol and threatening to come into the congressional rooms and things like that with people trying to hold them up with guns. What would that have looked like?
It would have been a bloodbath. It would have been.
It's hard for anybody to say that it would not have been different than what we saw, based on what we have seen even recently over the past year. I mean, and so the discrepancy, and many people are talking about it because I think it's a fair comment to make.
It is. It's exactly. Exactly. You can see the deep divide.
Right.
There's a deep racial divide in America. There were the National Guard were lined up on the Capitol or the White House when Black Lives Matter was when they were marching. The National Guard were lined up on the stairs. They didn't even make it to the stairs. Right. Let alone here you have this group. They're breaking windows and they're inside of the building. Yeah. It's fair to say that had it been people of color, it would have looked very different. And the story would have been different.
One of the questions I think that we do need to pull in here, we got another call, we'll put on in just a second, but is how do we get past all this? I mean, that is a very, very tough discussion right now. How are we gonna? Because unfortunately, it's been a trend over the past 4 years, an escalating trend. Yes. Of division, of just prying in there and pulling apart, letting things become more visible, more vocal, more supported. Bad behavior has been supported to the point where the divide has just increasingly gotten wider and wider. And how do we bridge this gap now? I do not envy the incoming president, because this is going to be mess.
I think that this had to happen for the people to see
just how
bad it is, for them to see that there are a lot of people that feel like Trump does. I think all of this civil unrest, it's bad, but I think it was necessary in order to get to the next steps, in order to try and correct it and try to close the gap.
Man, good luck. You have a comment just to your point of, where people are at. It says that a coworker said, I do not agree with what they did, even though the election was stolen from us. I mean, people really believe
that it was stolen
because that's what they've heard.
And they believe that everything in America belongs to them. And this is we the people,
right,
of the United States of America. It's supposed to be we the people. It's not one group owning or everything belonging to them, or one group having all of the say, keeping their knee and their foot on the necks of the other group that they are actually oppressing.
I mean, but just to be fair, when it comes to the press, I don't believe most of what either side says, because both of them have their intent to sway people. And so the news that they present is always skewed on the right and the left. But for people at this point, after everything that has been done, to still believe that this was a stolen election, you're only hearing that from Trump. That's the only one who's saying it. It's the only one in any level of power that's saying this was stolen is Donald Trump himself.
Well, you know what? It's like people that lie think that everyone lies.
Yep.
People that steal think that everyone steals. So he steals and he's stolen something, probably stole the presidency, because I really don't think that he legitimately won. I mean, that's just my opinion.
There's no way.
There's no way. Yeah, right. So he thinks that because he stole, he thinks everybody steals, and he steals, and he thinks that everything belongs to Trump and Trump dynasty. And it's so wrong.
Right. We got Bishop on. Bishop Clark, you're there. How
my
you doing,
brother,
sir?
my second brother.
Another brother.
From
another mother. You there, sir?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Speak to us. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. This has been quite an interesting week.
Yes,
it has.
With the Wednesday episode. And quite frankly, with all the series of events that were taking place during the 4 years of his presidency, I saw it coming.
Yeah, we all did. Well, not all, but a lot
of us. I'm sure
we
all did.
Yeah.
We saw it coming. I know I saw it coming. I saw it coming from the day he walked in office.
Yes.
Just simply because of his language. His vernacular was emboldened, and it was inciting. He was inciting violence and racism just from his language. And so what I saw on Wednesday, quite frankly, I wasn't surprised.
Wow.
I wasn't surprised at all.
Personally, I felt potential was there, but I never would have
thought that it would have gotten.
It would go to this. When we talked about this last week, I expected some things, some drama this week.
Right.
I never expected what we saw. But you know what? I shared something. I think I shared it online. I know I shared it with my wife. There was this video of a man that was speaking back in 2015 about Trump when he was running for presidency then. And he was talking about what his behavior would be like if he lost.
Yes.
And he nailed it.
To a T.
What he was talking about if he lost against Hillary.
Right.
But now having had one and running again, he really felt like he owed it. So the type of description that he had of how Trump would react to losing, being in total denial that he could have possibly lost, and all the rage and all this stuff, man, this guy was right on the money.
Right on it. Yes.
So I do believe, like
just like Hillary was.
Trump.
Hillary was as well. When he won, Hillary said that America has no idea who their president is.
Right.
Hillary said that almost verbatim.
Yeah.
So Hillary even warned us as well. But the reason I wasn't surprised at what happened at the Capitol was because of the group that he was stirring up. He was stirring up white supremacists. And when you look at the history of white supremacy, they've always had that militia spirit. They've always had the attitude of takeover. They always had the attitude of entitlement. And they always had a very, for lack of a better word, but a very lynchy attitude and spirit. Mm-hmm. So because of the language he was speaking, mm-hmm. which that particular group embraced, that's why I was not surprised, because I expect them to act the very way they act on Wednesday. I expected it.
Well, you know what?
Because that's who they are.
Yes, that's who they are. But I also feel like they were allowed to get into the Capitol.
The door was open.
They were allowed because they didn't allow the Black Lives Matter to even get near the steps, to even get near the building.
Can I say this to you?
I really think they were allowed because I think they all work conservatively together. They're part of it.
Yes, Pam, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I have been to that Capitol to lobby Congress for the union, and you just don't walk in there.
Of course,
and I've been there a few times, and you just don't walk in there. The security is very, very tight.
Very tight.
And I found it quite interesting that on the day of this protest, that the security was very thin that day.
Yeah,
very much.
Considering what was happening in that city, considering that they knew there was going to be a protest and they had an estimate of how many people they thought was going to be there.
Exactly.
And for them to have such a thin security, that just raises suspicion to me.
Exactly. Yeah. It does to me too. Yeah, right. And especially at the time where security should have been heightened. It was a heightened time.
Well, you can't say they didn't have warning, right? Because Trump himself had said it many, many times over the month that something was going to happen. It was going to be big. I guess the only blind spot I can see is no one ever just thinks that your president is going to start a riot.
Right.
I mean, who imagines that your president is going to start a riot against his own country?
Could you imagine what the leaders in other countries must be saying about this?
That's one of the things I wanted to say, because, when you were talking about Hillary and what she said, we need to understand these people know him behind the scenes.
Yes.
We only know what we've seen,
yes, they do.
And what we've been presented. But many of these people who know him from behind, that's what I was saying about Pence. If Pence does line up with the 25th Amendment, it's because of what he's seeing that we don't see.
Oh, right.
And what you're hearing now really is more people from the cabinet, et cetera, that are willing to express what they've seen. Because in the past, it's part of their job is keeping stuff in house. In fact, I think they have to sign for that, like NDAs. So now people are becoming much more outspoken. We only know what we see. We don't know what we don't see.
Exactly.
Man.
Exactly. Can you imagine what they must have had to deal with to try to control him?
If I could say this before I get off.
You can say it.
What you gonna say?
I'm very concerned. No, I'm very concerned about the after backlash. When he walks out of that office, he still has a very devoted following.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of money.
And a lot, exactly.
And a lot of money.
Yes.
He's been
they made
fundraising off of this.
They made mention, of course, Twitter banned him. I think Facebook has already banned him, but Gab will not ban him.
Right.
Gab,
if he goes to Gab,
what's the other one? Pitco or something
Gab.
Like that?
Was it Gab?
Because Gab is a white supremacist site.
Oh, that's why I haven't heard of it.
There's one called.
So that's why you haven't heard it.
Yeah, there's one called Pitco or Pitcom or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. And that's one that's been publicized more recently because, again, they don't believe in restricting what people say. And so there's a lot of white supremacy on there. They just this week had to pull back too and start doing some constraining and censoring, because what's happening now is these companies are starting to get afraid that they're going to end up sued because of the stuff that's being channeled through their networks. And so even when you look at what's happening with Twitter and Facebook, yes, they have some personal concern, but there's a lot of fear from them that ultimately they can get sued from these people sending all these messages through their network. So they're starting to respond.
Okay.
So, yeah, man, you know, when he gets out of office, there's two things. What he's going to do, and like I said, he's got a lot of people that are following him like they follow Hitler, right?
Yes.
They don't follow him like they follow Jim Jones. They are following him, you know, to whatever he says, and they believe whatever he says. And they have been fundraising this entire time through all this since the election and bringing in millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
So they are certainly not done. And by the way, part of that can be used for his defense fund. So he's funneling that to protect himself as well. You know, but you've got what he's going to do. And then you've got what are the rest of us going to do? And what is Joe Biden going to do? Oh, because he's been left with the mess of all messes, the grandest.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know, you know, aside from like the world wars, I don't know who's been left with this kind of a mess division in the country before. Maybe, you know, coming out of Lincoln or something like that. But how do you heal this country after the divisions that have been stirred up?
The divisions that have been brought to the forefront because they've been stirred. They've been stirred. Yeah, right. They stirred in the pot and they really brought it up. What's already been there.
And the word, by the way, for the people that you're talking about is entitlement. There's a mindset there of entitlement. Yes. And, you know, we went through this on the business side, talking about the country, because back in like the 90s and the 2000s, the United States people thought that they were entitled to the best jobs, the best pay. Meanwhile, you've got people in places like China who are making pennies on the dime, and they're like, look, we want to work. And so when it came to trying to get people to work with businesses and say, let's stay in business, let's keep jobs here, the entitlement mindset, which again was those people, they had these jobs for generations, you know, people that have been, you know, in charge of the country, refuse to think or accept the fact that they would have to compromise or let go or share power or give other people opportunities. That entitlement mindset has been in this country for generations, decades, and centuries.
It was actually
and they're
built on
refusing to let it go.
Refusing to let it go. It was built on entitlement when they brought us over here on those ships. Well, we can go back that far.
It starts there.
It starts there because it was never meant. It was never meant for people of color to succeed in America, but we did, and that's an issue.
Yeah, Bishop, thanks for calling.
Well, if I could just close with one thing.
Yes.
What is happening to America right now, I believe, is out of the book of Nahum, chapter 3, and verse 5. And it says, behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. In this season, America is being exposed to the entire world.
Yes.
And they're looking.
It is.
And they're saying, man, what you guys have going on over there. The whole way we've even dealt with COVID is an international embarrassment. You know,
America.
Oh my Lord.
You know, so man, thanks for calling.
Yeah, because you know we could be talking on this for hours and days. Huh?
I say God bless you.
God bless you.
Man. We'll talk
later.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
So you know the things that are going on right now, this whole sense of where people are, you know, there is a truth to this issue of entitlement mindset that's been in this country.
Yes.
And you know, the way this year, I think more than any, first because of COVID, and now because of what's happening with this, it's changing the whole atmosphere. I mean, when you do go out on the streets, because you know we don't go out that much anymore right now anyway. But the whole sense and atmosphere is so different. You go into stores, you know, and you can't see people's faces.
Right.
And everybody's got masks on.
Right.
So you don't know what people are thinking.
Yeah, you know, it makes you really wonder.
It's very eerie because
it's very eerie.
I find myself now going through stores much more uncomfortable than in the past. It always used to be, hey, you know, you're not even worried about people. But now it's kind of like everybody you look at and you catch eyes with them.
Yes.
You don't know
what they're thinking.
Right.
And you know, I've always said that even before we start wearing the mask,
it's gotten
you know,
worse.
wear the mask. It has gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's just the thought to me that you don't know what people are thinking that you see every day. You don't know what they're thinking, people that you work with every day, people that you see daily in your neighborhood. You don't know what people are thinking.
Right.
And that's always been something that I thought about.
And it just shows you how deep this division is right now.
Well, you know, I want to say this too, you know, I'm really love Africa. There's something that the Zulu people, they always say that they're Zulu warriors, but that they don't smile at people a lot because you never know who your enemy is. You know,
right?
Yes, and that's something I learned from, you know, being around, you know, my family and my people in Africa.
It really is there.
So these masks really.
But this goes to show you just where this country is at right now, because it's hard, especially, and we just have to say it, for African American people to feel like they fit in. The country is still and has been majority white people, and there has been an essence of threat of who really owns this country, which is where all of this mindset comes to. As you get more, first of all, they brought in African Americans, right? But then never intended, like you said, for them to be free African Americans in a white culture.
Well, see, that's a word. That's a key word that you said: ownership.
Right.
People want to have ownership of people.
Right. And control.
Right. And that's what ownership is, control.
You know, there's an aspect and an assumption amongst some people that, you know, they have a right to the best job. They have a right to the best situation.
Right.
It's okay for us to be in these nice, expensive homes, but that's not what you guys
That's not for you.
About.
Yeah.
You know, and that mindset is still locked into a lot of people. Our country is being taken away from us. And this is what Trump had really tapped into, this mindset of our country. Make it great again.
Yes.
You know, bring us back to the good old days.
Right.
You know,
when was it the good old days for people of color?
It was not.
It wasn't great for them.
A corporate statement. It was a statement to a specific group of people.
Right.
Which ultimately has resulted in the kind of divisions that we've seen.
Right.
And the resistance against not only us, but people can't come over the border. People can't come from certain countries.
Right.
You know, all that mindset. You can't take away. This is us. This is ours.
Right.
Right. We're taking it back again.
Exactly.
And it's just raised that flame over the past 4 years to a certain group that really chimed into. Yeah, that's right. This was supposed to be, and it's supposed to be ours.
Yes.
You know, it's an entitlement mindset.
It really is.
That has been there in a lot of different ways now for many years.
Exactly.
So the latter question, we wind up, because here we've gone
before I get on the next thing, because you know I get a little wound up on this topic.
Let's wind it up, y'all.
I got a few things I want to say.
Gotta get ready for tomorrow. I got it goes back to healing. You know, it goes back to how does the country recover from this? What's it going to take? Who's willing to make the compromises that it's going to take? Because amongst the government, amongst politicians, you know, this battle and restringency of right versus left, Republican or versus Democrat, is a real problem. It's problematic to healing, right?
It is.
And so from the president down, and then you've got all the churches. And man, oh man, there is so much church healing that's going to have to take place after this. And you know, while I think from on the political side, the government side, a lot of heads will roll. A lot of these pastors that have been on the wrong side of right, they're going to slide through and be like, nothing happened. They're going to just slip away, just like Lindsey Graham, just slip away and just keep on trucking, you know, but, and that's an issue, because people who have ordained and stood behind these things and said these things, if they aren't willing to come to the table and confront the fact, like we talked a couple times in the past about truth, if they're not willing at some point to come to the table and say, look, we were wrong. Yeah. This was not where we should have been, et cetera, so forth. It's going to be hard to heal. And so the healing process that needs to come out of this on the other side is going to be one of the great challenges of people coming to God, because it's the only way I can imagine it happen. It's hard for me to look at you every day know that you were thus and thus towards me, right? You were just up at Capitol Hill. I saw you on television.
Right, you on TV.
Right? And you up there doing this and acting like this. And people were talking about their coworkers. We got messages, people talking about their coworkers.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
It's hard to move past that and say, okay, let's come back and be family again.
Yes,
let's be connected. Is we one people under God. How this healing process, the only way I can really imagine that is it's got to have God in it. It's got to have the love of God and the power of God to overcome everything that we have been through.
It has to have something more than what we have.
Right.
Because what we have right now is not the answer.
What we have done over the past few decades is take God out of everything, out of the political system. Out of the schools. The only way I think this will heal is if we put God back into the political system. I think it's the only way that you can truly heal this.
But how do we do that?
Well, people have to make a choice.
How
it takes it's conviction. It's a revival.
It's not easy because you got
it's convictions of people that look at things and God speaks to their heart and says, you know what, this is wrong, and we got to get it right.
The heart
and we're ready to do
and
it.
the mind. We got to change the heart, and we have to redirect somehow the train of thought.
Right.
It has to.
So I am sure we'll be talking about this much more as we go forward. The recovery of this for 2021 is going to be a huge challenge.
Yes.
And we will see if we truly make a change or if we just color it over at something else and stay with the same stuff.
Well, yeah, when that's the problem, because it has been colored over, and we are still dealing with the same thing that we have, same issues that we dealt with for centuries.
But like you said earlier that this may have needed to happen to explode like this in order for realizations to take us where we need to go.
Exactly.
So we will see if this changes. So, another powerful week. We're getting ready to go into another week, from where we stand. For those that are watching, we believe in prayer. And so for those that believe in prayer, look, this is a week to pray. We have to, the church has to pray for ourselves, for those around us, for the others, for the other church, for the other, for everybody, right? Because we need a breakthrough before we self-destruct. And that's what's on the line. People have to come to understand that if we don't get it straight, self-destruction is on the horizon, and that could be horrible because there's a lot of vultures out there outside of this country, waiting to see. And
we see how many there are
waiting to see.
Yes, exactly.
So, want to just leave off just as a reminder about COVID. But guess what? COVID is still real.
It's still real.
It's still active. This week we hit over 4,000 cases a day of dying from COVID death rate. That's now more than twice the death rate of heart disease, which has always been for many years the number one killer in America. Around 1,800 cases a day is heart disease, the number one killer in America. COVID is now at over 4,000 deaths a day.
Yeah.
So, and we expect things are still going to continue to rise based on statistically everything that has still gone on. So please be careful out there. Mask yourselves. Strongly consider this vaccine. Because while many people are going through it, and we know now many people who are around us who are going through it right now and are coming through okay, many people are dying. And we don't want you or us to be one of them, right? You or us. We do it for us, ourselves, and we do it for those around us. This is like a test case of what this country needs to learn to do. How to think about more than just yourself.
Right.
It's a test case. I mean, maybe that's the reason God let this come when it did. Is because we clearly don't understand how to look out for each other anymore.
Right.
COVID clearly shows us that. But that's what we need right now, is to be able to look past ourselves and our own needs and look to help somebody else. And that's really the spirit that will cause healing on this. So maybe God is trying to teach us this before it's too late.
Yes.
So any last things, any last waves, anybody? See, a lot of people have been on. Thank you for joining us. Hope that you've gotten something out of it. Thanks for those who have called. We want to hear more from you guys in the future. Got to hear your opinions and feedback on these things as we go, and maybe we'll learn something together. All right?
Yes.
So I think it's time for us to call it a night and get ready for the next adventures for tomorrow. We'll be back on tomorrow morning for our 11:30 Sunday program, Sunday worship service, Word and Worship tomorrow at 11:30. You can join us back on the Facebook page. Wednesday night Bible study. I will try and actually do a Bible study this time. I mean, I haven't. It's been about 5 weeks. Tried to do one Wednesday, and all this craziness happened. So you never know what's going to happen. We'll be here doing something. At 7 o'clock on Wednesday, and now our Friday night prayer as well is going on. And so we invite you to join us for our Friday night prayers that are taking place live on stream here on the Facebook page, in conjunction with it being on Zoom. And we have that information on the Facebook page. If you want to feel connected to a group in prayer, you can join on Zoom and you'll be connected in with the others that are there. And you can watch on Facebook, or you can come. The church will be open. You're invited to come and join us on Friday night at 7 p.m. for prayer. We need to pray.
Yes.
Right now, Lord, and prayer in our lifetime. So join us Friday, Wednesday, and next Saturday we'll be back again.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
God bless everybody.
Be
Have
safe.
a good evening. Be safe.
Be
Take
prayerful.
Care of each other.
Yes.
Right. Watch out for each other.
Watch out for yourself and others. Yes.
We'll look forward to seeing you again.